Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Marcus, and I told you it wouldn't be that long between videos. For the first time ever, I'm semi-consistent. Is that what they call it? Anyways, today we're talking about something really unique. As if last week wasn't unique enough, we're talking about the stitched steel paradigm. So as you can see right here, this one is paradigm number 18. It is currently well, I think 19 might be done at this point, but as of right now, there's only somewhere in, the low 20s at the absolute most. But paradigms are currently in production. As it stands right now, this is the only full dress paradigm. Every single part is Mokutai or Damascus steel. This is the same pattern as the Alien. It is a spirograph pattern Damascus, which is really just, it's a gorgeous pattern. This one is from Vegas Forge. The Mokutai handles are from Nichols Damascus. Mokutai from Nichols Damascus, right? And the Damascus blade is from Vegas Forge. So, and that's the same as with the Alien, which we talked about last week. So, right. Anyways, let's get into this a little bit more. The paradigm is a complete shift from the Alien in terms of, literally everything, with the exception of the fact that they both have a stylized Tanto blade. But obviously it's a different style, as you can see with these two. The Alien is shorter, the Alien is chunkier, the Alien just has a completely different profile. And that's perfect, right? Some makers, they make a knife and then their next follow-up knife is more or less the same, just with a different shape. Whereas Stitch really took everything from the Alien and enhanced it, refined it, or changed it to make a completely new knife. It's the paradigm of his work. So how do I like it? What do I think of it? I watched the review, although I think I spoiled this one last week, so I guess don't watch it if you don't want to, but then you'd be missing out on more footage of this and hearing my thoughts on this knife. I'm not going to flip it left-handed because I don't want to cut myself, although, well, that's what happens. It already happened. I had a nasty cut from this one. It is fucking sharp. So anyways, let's get into talking about it. We'll talk about the build first. So here we go. So the paradigm is really a complete shift in mindset from the Alien. Whereas the Alien was built to be a tank, the paradigm, in Stitch's own words, is built to be a race car. And that really is what it is. It has a lot more in common with today's, top tier flippers, stuff like the Seraph, the Tsunami, every other knife that I just forgot the name of. It has more in common with the current trends of like a longer knife with longer handles. You can see it's similar in length with handles to something like the Nautilus, which is, again, a trainer, so it's not a completely fair comparison, but the overall length of the knife is really quite similar. So it's just a little bit more close to what flippers nowadays look for. It is a fast knife. It doesn't have the same momentum carrying that the Alien does, but it has a completely different style. And again, it is a fast knife, and that's the only real way to describe it. So we've got this really neat hole pattern here, reminiscent of like rivets from like old school manufacturing, like on like aircraft, right? Like where the seams meet, there's that rivet pattern. So that's the inspiration for these, and it's nicely done. It is a sleek look. It's beautifully rounded. These are actually still Mokutai, believe it or not. They're from a blank on the edge of the plate, and they're polished. So they have a nice little bit of contrast there, but are still, in fact, the same material as the rest of the handles. Maybe a void. Maybe that's the proper term for it. The material essentially fused a little bit more than it should have. So it doesn't retain color the same, which led to this really neat effect here. And this was an intentional design choice as far as like what the spacers were looking like. Much like the Alien, beautifully done tang pins that just work perfectly. And it's got a similarly, quiet sound profile. It's got a little bit more of a clang to it, or maybe a clang isn't the right word, but like a more hollow sound. And again, looped with carbon honey right now. Perfect tolerances. That is me absolutely forcing it. The tolerances on this are somehow better than the Alien, despite the fact that they both have literally no play. That is purely flex in the material itself, and I have to force it for that to happen. The blade has this really great exaggerated Tanto style with a nice little fuller right there, which helps reduce weight. And it's just a really neat stylistic choice as well. It's just so different compared to everything else currently on the market. The whole pattern feels wonderful. It's grippy, obviously sandwich style construction, which I think has beautiful grip. It just feels good in the hand. And the blade, again, absolutely razor sharp, absolutely sharp everywhere, and just so beautifully done. It is a work of art. And the base form, much like with the Alien, is titanium handles with an S35 VN steel blade. And per everything else, you can upgrade. I've seen Damas steel blades, Damascus blades, zirconium spacers, satin handles, blackened handles, and Stitch's blackening work is phenomenal. That's the one that I actually tried in the pass around. So what do I think about it? It is a perfect knife, and that is really just the tip of the iceberg. So we've talked about the blade, we've talked about the general build, we've talked about some of the inspiration here. It flips phenomenally well. It's beautifully balanced. It feels so good. I'm really racking my brain to say anything other than praise. I've taken longer on this review in terms of time I've had the knife before putting out a video than I have with anything else that I've done, and I've been looking for something to dislike about it, and I really cannot think of a single negative thing to say. I mean, I tried the original, or not the original. I originally tried one in a pass round. It was number 3. And since then, Stitch has actually improved his bushings process in terms of getting them tuned down. And this and the Alien both have the best bushings I've seen on any knife. It is so smooth. It is like butter. And there's no tap, no play. It is a perfect experience there. Every single aspect, every single edge, corner, rounded area of this knife is just perfect feeling. There is literally not a single thing that I can think of to critique with the feel of this knife. The sound is nice. It's quiet without being dull. It's just like, it's like handling a piece of art, and you really can't say anything else about it. It feels so good, and it handles better than anything else I've tried. It shifts almost the way you think about a knife, and I know that sounds fucking dramatic, but right now one of the big trends is putting weight pins in your knife. Why? Because you can customize the weight by adding some pins to the end. The Embargo does it, the Tsunami does it, the Koenig does it, the Serif does it, the Opus does it, which, I mean, the Serif and Opus are more or less the same, kind of, but also they're not, so but that's neither here nor there, right? That's the trend, though, is putting weight pins in knives. And this, in my opinion, proves that that's an unnecessary trend. Weight pins are cool, but having a knife that just feels good right out of the box is better. That's all you can say about it. As with every single knife that Stitch does, it comes obviously with, just knocked everything on my desk over. That's cool. Comes with, you know, one of these nice taco cases, certificate of authenticity card. I didn't show this off in the last one, but there's my card. It's backwards. There's also some slight oil on it because I rested my knife on it and just made a mess because I wasn't thinking about that. So again, value-wise, yes, the Paradigm at base is expensive, but it is worth every penny. It is seriously, like, it feels like the only balisong I'll ever need again. It is just so smooth feeling, it's so agile, and it is stunning. Obviously this one, I went all out because I have no intention of ever parting with these, and I know I've said that for other knives, and then I've been like, you know what, turns out I was too much into the hype zone. These are permanent. These are not going anywhere ever. In any future releases Stitch has, I will try my hardest to get on his list and get full dress variants of those. His artistry has really blown me away, and that's really what it is it's artistry, right? There's you know, someone that can make a knife, and there's like a level of craftsmanship, but Stitch takes it to the next level, and it is artistry. He, like I said in the previous video, everything is done by hand. Every single groove, every single rounded bit, every hole is drilled or sanded or shaped by hand, and that really is insane, especially when you feel how this knife handles. It is so perfect that you almost have a hard time believing it. But part of the process when you buy a knife from Stitch is seeing the process in the group chat. There's a whole group chat once you're on the list, if your knife's in progress, blah, blah, blah. But you see the process, you see the sanding, you see this step-by-step of taking it from 2 slabs of raw metal to this. And it's incredible. I honestly have had this for a few weeks now, and I am doing nothing in this review but gushing about it because it is really genuinely the best knife I've handled. If you can snag one on the secondhand market, go for it. I don't like the secondhand market. I don't like overpaying for knives, but honestly, if you can snag one on the secondhand market, it's worth it. If you can get on Stitch's list, that's even better, right? Supporting the makers directly, or in this case, the singular maker. I always prefer doing that versus secondhand. This is phenomenal. There is not a single bad thing I can say about this, and I've been looking for something to critique, right? Stitch, even when I talked to him during this process, was like, he told me to be as brutal as I could be as honest, right? Like I appreciate that, right? If someone wants genuine feedback, I want to give genuine feedback. Instead, I'm just sitting here blown away by the fact that I can't find a single negative thing. I guess it's too pretty, and that's my fault. I picked the materials I picked, so I'm careful with this one. I don't flip it over concrete because holy shit, that would feel like a crime. But it's my daily carry. I flip it over soft surfaces. I'll flip it over anything that's not concrete. We haven't had any drops yet, thankfully, because I've been careful. Well, I did drop it on my bed when I cut myself, which hurt. But again, the closest thing to a criticism is that I picked materials that make this knife too pretty to beat. But honestly, that's not a criticism. That's me being me as a person. When it comes down to basic design, right? If you get the blackened one with an S35 VN steel blade, you've got it. You've got a knife that will last literally a lifetime with Stitch's warranty. You know, if there's a manufacturer's defect or some sort of flaw that's not from excessive beating, Stitch will cover that. Obviously, if you chuck your blade at the ground or drop it on concrete repeatedly, right? That's on you, the owner of this. But you know, if a tang pin falls out, if the tolerances get just sloppy somehow, I think Stitch covers that. I'm sure he does. Or if he doesn't, then whatever, right? You know, the guy works his ass off, paying a handful of dollars to get it back to factory condition is worth it, right? The amount of work that goes into these is absolutely insane, and it shows that these are just, perfect. It is the perfect balisong. It makes every single other knife I've flipped look like trash. That's a bit harsh. That's obviously not true, but it really does. It blows everything I've handled out of the water, and this is genuinely my absolute favorite balisong that I've handled, and I cannot put this down. Unless we're talking about the Alien, which is so different yet so similar. I mean, I've talked about it enough in my last review. I don't need to talk about the Alien anymore. But, I mean, that's the only real competition because it has a different feel, but the same general, just beautiful construction. So that'll be it for this review, I think. I don't think I have a single negative thing to say. Beautiful construction, gorgeous blade, absolutely flawless, wonderful feeling. The handling is incredible. I highly recommend if anyone has the time or money to pick one up, they are well worth it, and just blown away. I mean, I'm still in absolute awe over this thing, and it has been weeks that I've had it, and I can't stop fiddling with it. If I'm not able to flip, if I'm able to just flip, then it's my go-to. It feels so solid. It is so fast and sleek, and just, it's a work of art, and I that's enough of me. I can't stop praising this. I'm just gonna go flip some more. That's it. Check in next time for probably something rambly. We'll talk about the Nautilus at some point. I like flipping trainers because I can't necessarily afford to risk bad cuts. So with my job, so maybe we'll talk about the Nautilus. That's been fun. Maybe I'll ramble about Nitinol or SM100 or whatever. We'll think of something. Leave suggestions in the comments. I'll try and keep this semi-regular schedule coming out. Thank you again, everyone, for watching, subscribing, blah, 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 blah. Have a good one. Later.